everyone, my name is REDRUP. This is the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I'm joined by Kids in Glass Houses guitarist Iain Mahanty. We talk about the band's brand new album, Pink Flamingo, releasing new music for the first time in 11 years, focusing on the overall album aesthetics and package, co-producing this time around, and loads more. Just before we get started, please consider helping me out by taking a few seconds of your time to support the podcast. You can hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to or watching this so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can leave a review or a comment. You can go and give the podcast a follow on social media. And there's also a Patreon and there's a web store if you did want to go one step further. I've put links to everything that I've just mentioned in the description of this episode, or you can head to itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now, here's my chat with Iain of Kids in Glass Houses. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of the It's Not a Phase podcast, where I'm joined by Iain of Kids in Glass Houses. How you doing, dude?
Hey, yes, I'm all good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man, of course. And yeah, you've just come off a few days off the Pink Flamingo tour. How's that been going?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing, really. Like, couldn't have asked for more. The record came out on the 25th, and yeah, we've been playing some shows to support that. We did Kingston, Cardiff, and Glasgow, which was, yeah, just really nice. Like, really, it's just sick playing like new music. I
Yeah,
think like just being back together and you know, sort of being able to share some new tunes with people and it be received well. And,
yeah,
sharing nice experiences with people again is like really nice. And then, yeah, we're about to then just embark on the rest of the tour.
yeah,
Which, yeah, which is, yeah, it's just, I don't really know what else to say other than it's exciting and
yeah,
nice and everything feels positive.
yeah, yeah. Well, you just, just touching it there, like obviously new album, Pink Flamingo, first album in 11 years, fifth album overall for you guys. Yeah, how's the reception been? I think you kind of touched on it there, but it seems like yeah, fans are digging it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything we've seen has been like really positive and really like warm and receptive, I suppose. Like, because obviously, when you release music, there's always an anxiety around sort of how it'll be perceived. Like,
Yeah,
because all you can really control is how you feel about it and whether you like it and whether you're confident enough putting it out there, which we all felt like it's the proudest we've been of a record. Like we all love it so much that we were just excited to get it out there and for it to be received so well has just been really nice. I think for me, one of the main things is we haven't done much explaining around what it is. Like before putting new music out, we didn't really talk too much about it or try and guide people's opinion or
yeah,
tastes or try and lead people down a path. We just sort of put it out and we're like, here you go. What do you think? But people seem to get it, people seem to feel like it's, it feels nostalgic in a sense that it feels like old us, but it's got like a bit of a fresher sound because obviously, we're more mature and a lot's happened in 10 years. And
yeah,
yeah, and for people to just sort of get that and enjoy that without us needing to hold their hand, I suppose, is like,
yeah,
yeah, it's really nice. It's just like really sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the anxiety there, and I imagine that's only kind of extrapolated by the fact that you've been away for so long, and then of course you came back and you did that smart casual tour and shows, and obviously people really enjoyed that album, and they went down great. But I guess there must have been some apprehension on your side of like, okay, people really dig this album, they dig those shows, they dig that we're back, but will they dig new music? Like, do they want new music from us?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was great to sort of explore and celebrate something we did, but you're totally right. Like you never know if people want anything new off bands, right?
Yeah,
Because even as like a music fan, it's like records hold a certain place in my heart because they represent a time in my life or they represent like certain things that happened in my life. And I like we totally understand that like that doesn't necessarily mean that people want like new stuff.
yeah,
But I think for us, the fact that it seems like people do and people are enjoying it and people are coming to shows and really sort of acknowledging the new stuff in the same way that they acknowledge the old stuff, I think just
Yeah.
means like so much to us. It's like, um, yeah, we couldn't have asked for more, really.
Yeah. Because I mean, the worst thing you want is like fans to come and be like, oh, I don't know, like expecting Smart Casual 2 or a Dirt 2, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, which I think like is a reasonable expectation, I suppose. And like
yeah.
if we were to do that, like people wouldn't be surprised. But I think just naturally we're just I think like creatively we've moved on, right? Like it's just sort of something we did in a time and place that represents us then. And
Yeah.
now all we can do is sort of represent ourselves now and
Yeah.
like be truthful to that and not try and recreate anything that's come before. Truthfully, me and Al actually sat down and we were like, what would it sound like if we tried to like write some stuff for that rep for those records now?
Right.
And
Okay.
it just sounded like a parody, man. Like it just sounded like, you know, really forced, really contrived,
Yeah.
and it was more of like a writing exercise for us.
Mm.
But yeah, so I think we're just doing what comes naturally, and I think that's something that gives a nod to that sound, that early sound, but just feels sort of a bit more current.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people are liking it, and I'm sure there's a few people out there that'll go to the bar when we play the new stuff, but that's cool too. It's all
Yeah.
right.
You can't please everyone, can you?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. That's cool, man. Like, I'm all
yeah.
right with it.
Yeah. So when did Pink Flamingo start coming together? Like, were you kind of wanting to gauge how those reunion shows went first, or were you putting that album together beforehand anyway?
Chicken and egg, I would say.
Right.
I think because like me and Al had been doing some writing over the past maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe a bit longer than that, just on and off, nothing in mind, just getting together, writing some songs. Just because we just love writing together, and that they were sort of put aside, and as things were ramping up towards realizing that it was going to be 15 years of Smart Casual, I think Al, you know, started planting some seeds with the other boys and, putting everyone into place and all that sort of stuff. So I think I don't think we wanted to see how those things went, how those shows went. I think for me, it was a case of if we were going to get back together, we'd have to do new stuff because it would be a case of wanting to actually get back together as a band and
Right.
it not just be some like nostalgia. We're just doing this as a cash in type thing or
Mm.
something like, which is cool. People do that. It's cool. No shade. But I think for us, it always felt like, um, yeah, if the band was going to get back together, it actually had to get back together and be a band again, which means making music together. So
Yeah.
I think like all these little parts just sort of fell into place. And then obviously the response to the Smart Casual stuff last year and seeing how positive the reaction was and how much sort of people wanted to engage with us again definitely had like it definitely gave us like the energy that we needed to fulfill, I think, what was already in motion, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So then when did those conversations start happening then? Because, you just mentioned there, like, you didn't want it to be just like a one-off show here and there. You want it to be something where it's like you're picking the mantle up again, you're gonna, give it another try. Um, so I imagine it's, there's you've got to all be on the same mindset, right? So when does everyone want to try and do the band properly again? Like, I imagine
Um,
it was a few, because I imagine a few festivals during the downtime had approached you to say, "Hey, will you come back and do a show?" And obviously you turned it down until, last year.
yeah, yeah, it was Ben Ray was the driving force, to be honest. He
Right,
books Slam Dunk, and pretty much every year since we split up, he's messaged um Al or myself to be like this year, this year, this year. And truthfully, post band like was quite challenging for everyone, like individually, and it took a good few years for us to sort of feel like we'd established ourselves as ourselves.
right.
Because obviously if you spend your 20s in a band that defines you, you're then like taken out of that situation. It's like, oh shit, what do I do now, sort of thing. And I think everyone was feeling like, okay, now's the time to get our sort of real lives on, not real lives, but like our real world lives on
Yeah.
track. So I think like definitely for the first few years, everyone was sort of finding their feet. And then over sort of the second half of that period, everyone had settled, people started having kids, like settling down, doing all these things, and everyone just felt like they were in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Um, and the conversation around it felt more joyous, I suppose, a bit more like, oh yeah, we can actually do this for a laugh. Like there seems to still be demand for it, which is such a privilege, like to do what we did in the first place
Yeah.
is amazing. And then to like be able to go away for a decade and there still be like demand for it. It's like fucking hell, man. Like if you don't see like how much of an honor that is, like would be idiots, right? So to like not sort of come back and take that opportunity.
Yeah.
So we started having these conversations and it just felt like, yeah, actually like this could just be fun. And also we're in a spot where, me and Al have started writing these tunes. The boys had a couple of demos that we didn't know knocking about, and it just all felt like, oh yeah, this could be fun, and there could be no pressure on it as well. Whereas the
Yeah.
first time around, it was, it was our livelihoods, it was our jobs, it was, everything. Everything was the most important thing ever.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, it's like, can we look at this through a different lens this time? And yeah, we seem to be. It's so far, it's been great. Like, we're appreciating everything so much, and in like a different way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you say, you wanted to take some time away because I guess up to that point, your life is majority, the majority of your life is the band, but you want to
Mm.
know who you are not in the band. Like, who are you as a person? You are not kids in glass houses, like you are so
Yeah,
many
yeah,
different
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Even down to I talk to like anyone else in a band, man. Like you're in people's phone and your surname is the band you're in, right? Like it
Yeah.
literally like it defines you, right? Like
Yeah.
and that's cool and that's fine. Like, you're in this thing and you're super proud of it. It is part of who you are. It is who you are, right? So that makes total sense. But then yeah, like I said, when that ends, it's then like, oh, okay, well, what am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
And yeah, you go through all these sorts of questions, which, yeah, thankfully we've all sort of come out the other side like really positive, and everyone's like got so many things to be grateful for, and and we still have each other as friends, and we're really grateful for that. We didn't fall out first time round, and we're all in good health, and like there was just loads of things to like feel grateful for and
Yeah.
feel like, oh, we're in a really good position to be able to do this. Like, let's celebrate this and do some new stuff and see where that takes us and not put any pressure on it or ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, going back to the new album, Pink Flamingo, you co-produced this record. How was that kind of, having your hands on it?
Yeah, no, it was great. Post band, I went into production, so sort of been cutting my teeth and working on artist releases, working on like branding videos and advertising and things like that, and sort of just getting to grips with it sort of post band. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think when we started writing and demoing, everything was feeling really formed already, and the demoing stage got to a point where the boys were just like, oh, this feels really complete, and as an idea it feels like it already sort of exists, so like you should just do it, sort of thing. um but I think one thing that was important for me was to be able to remain part of the band as well and be able to sort of switch roles, which is why a good friend of mine, Gary Harris, introduced me to Cecil, who co-produced it and engineered it and mixed it. um and yeah, when I met him around his studio and played him the demos, and he just got it. And I think one thing that we wanted to do was do new things and look at things through a new lens. And, Cecil's worked with artists like PJ Harvey and Ed O'Brien and just like worked on some like really like cool sounding stuff. So it was like, what can he bring to to the kids' table,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And yeah, we sort of I introduced him to all the boys. We all met and hung out, and just instantly like same sense of humor, same taste in music, like just got it, fitted in, and yeah, that meant that I was able to, go into the live room and play along during takes, and Cecil was just in control of those things, and then sort of I'd be working on stuff at my studio, he'd be working on stuff at his studio, and yeah, it was just like a really sort of organic process, I think.
Right.
But I also think, yeah, I mean, the one positive that Al keeps mentioning, and I would agree with, is, records we've made in the past. It's like you pay for a producer's time and studio time, which are both very expensive things, and it's almost like what you get done in that space is the record,
Yeah.
which is great, but sometimes there's things you want to be able to tweak or things you want to be able to change, and we were able to do that in this process. Like some songs left the studio in a certain way, and now they're basically completely different songs by the time the record came out, and being able
Okay.
to sit and take stock as a band and be like, have the boys say we're not feeling this, and me and Cecil be able to tweak it and work on it. Or yeah, it just made the process like a lot more, or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say collaborative because that makes it sound like processes before haven't been,
I guess
but
there's
it
more
made
freedom,
it
right? Because you
more
can.
freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. That's the right way of putting it. Like, yeah, and just having the boys sort of, you know, letting them trust their gut about, do you like this? Yes, no, okay, we can work on stuff. And yeah, it just made it like, I think it's resulted in the most us record there could be,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any specific things where, you mentioned earlier that you want to kind of do kids in glass houses, but how it would be in 2024. So when you were going into it with that kind of mindset, were there specific things you wanted to do that would, I guess, modernize what, your kind of DNA?
Um, I mean, yes and no. I don't think we really set ourselves a brief because I think the brief was the only thing I said to the boys was like, how do you feel when you hear something? That's the only thing that can sort of guide us.
Right.
I think like, do you do you feel like this is right? Is this putting you in the right space, in the right world? There wasn't necessarily oh, we need to use these sounds. It's
Right.
just sounds we like, if that makes sense. The
Yeah.
the only thing that sort of guided us was, yeah, feeling essentially. There was no like, oh, well, this band's doing this, we need to do that, so that'll make it modern. It's all like super organic, super natural sounds we like, getting brass section on there, getting strings on there. We're all fans of sort of quite big production and things like that, and things that sound, well thought out and musically put together. So I think
Yeah.
like that being an element of the record makes it us. And yeah, I don't know, like it's yeah, like I said, there was no checklist, I
Yeah.
suppose. It was just, do we like this? Does this make us feel the right way? And I think definitely from a production point of view, like Alid stepped up so much from a lyrical standpoint in regards to the themes he's addressing and the things he's talking about. And that definitely made us want to step up sonically to create these worlds to support the things he's talking about. Whereas
Yeah.
I think previously it's been, you know, big hook, catchy melody, catchy parts, which is great
Yeah.
and like that's cool. But I think the one thing to coincide with like how does this make you feel is like, are we making the right choices to support what is happening in the track?
Yeah.
And does it all collectively feel like it should, or it's
Yeah,
like it's trying to say something, you know?
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, ironically, we speak of like modernizing, but the sound like kind of threaded throughout the album. It's kind of like 80s influences in there and
Yeah.
synthwave and stuff, and like not just the music, but aesthetically, like the album art and the music videos as well. It kind of gives me like a Vice City kind of
Yeah.
vibe to it. Um, how important was like the overall package of Pink Flamingo for you guys?
Yeah, massively. I mean, like Al's, a graphic designer, creative director in his own right, and he's always designed everything that the band has done.
Right.
So I feel like whether whether it's conscious or not, like I don't know, but I feel like when Al starts sort of writing music and making songs, it's almost like the two things start happening at the same time, like the visual concept and like the sonic concept are happening in parallel.
Right.
That's kind of how I see it when we work together. I feel like I know where things are going the minute stuff starts happening. So I think, yeah, I think it was probably there like early doors. Whether we saw anything or not is another thing. But yeah, I mean, like visually, I feel like we're big fans of artists that tie in like visual concepts and sonic concepts, like Prince is like one of our favorite artists of all time, and that was such a huge deal for him, and that is the music that we grew up on. So for us, it's perfectly natural to like combine those two things, and like
Yeah.
Talking Heads as well, it's like I think it helps support something become a body of art, right? Like a work of art and a body of work, I think. And that we really wanted to sort of lean into on this album as well, is it be this one piece that sat there as opposed to, you know, a collection of songs that were written with some artwork attached to it. It needs to feel like people are stepping into something and buying into something.
Yeah.
Because that's how we've always felt about records that we love. And I think like that's always something that we'll consciously or subconsciously try and achieve,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you say, it's all the parts, isn't it? Like you could easily just have like this collection of songs, you just whack any old album on it and have like the most basic music videos. And yeah, I'm sure it resonate with some people, but if you just kind of go that extra bit further, like you say, you kind of create this own mini world in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
album.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's just something we love. I mean, to do it the other way is I don't want to sound like there's like a right or wrong way to do stuff, because like, whatever works for you and like, satisfies your sort of creative endeavor is like totally cool. But like just for us from our point of view, it's like those two things are like, you know, in tandem, and even down to sort of the live show, like we try and like set the stage up in a certain way that makes it feel like, you know, we're putting on a performance and putting on a show, and it's a thing, not just us
Yeah.
playing some
Yeah.
songs for you.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so while we just touched on videos briefly there, it looks like the shoot for Have a Good Time was fun. Like how was that for you?
Yeah, yeah, no, it was great. Um, yeah, I think yeah, I mean, that was just like a good day out all round, to be honest. I think we just wanted to encapsulate that sense of growing up where we grew up,
Yeah.
you know? Like I think like being able to shoot in Llantrisant Workingmen's Club and capture that little bit of the valleys in like this world of Pink Flamingo that we've created, I think just makes a lot of sense, because like a lot of the themes that run through the record, about sort of society and how how we're living now, and like our day-to-day lives, and how that's impacted by, whether it be online or whether it be offline media and news and things like that. I think like, yeah, just being able to shine a little bit of like real world into the Pink Flamingo aesthetic felt really
Yeah,
good. And, you know, we got a bit of silly dancing in there because we can't take ourselves too seriously, can we?
yeah, yeah. Just showing a bit of your personality. So,
Yeah, you know, we try, we try.
yeah. Um, so does it feel to you then like, obviously this is the next Kids in Glass Houses album, but to you, does it feel more like the next album and a continuation of Kids in Glass Houses, or does it feel more like a clean slate and a new chapter into, I guess, this next era of the band?
That's a good question. I guess I'm going to sit on the fence. I think a bit of both, I think. I think to I think yes, it feels like a fresh start, and almost in some ways, it feels like we've written another first album. In the sense that there's been so long between our last one and this new one that it feels like quite new in so many ways. But then I think like I wouldn't want to say that because it sounds like we're dismissing everything that we did before it, and
Yeah,
we definitely don't feel like that. Like we're so proud of who we are as a band and where that has come from. Like where we are now wouldn't exist without all of that. So I
yeah,
think like yeah, we definitely acknowledge that and we love that and we still love those records and those songs and like that is very much us, you know, like being able to share those songs with people and those moments with people live is as exciting as the new stuff. It's just a different sort of excitement, if
yeah,
that makes sense. And I suppose that maybe is how we feel about whether it's a clean slate or a continuation. It's like the excitement feels very new, but we're very aware that it's a continuation of the band, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And while we're talking about obviously this new era, what else is planned for the band so far for the rest of this year and next year that you can talk about?
Ooh, I can't talk about anything actually,
Oh,
which is
okay.
very disappointing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
never mind.
No, we're making plans at the moment.
Right.
I think this year's been like really cool. It's been so nice to be doing stuff again and very exciting. Um, but I think like we're just going to enjoy this for now. I think like, you know, like the records just come out. We're going to sort of sit back and enjoy that and, you know, see how people react to it and all these things and, you know, maybe get together and, you know, do a bit of writing or whatever, or just hang out without band stuff involved. Like who knows? But yeah, we've got some stuff being planned at the moment, but unfortunately nothing I can divulge
Yeah.
just
Sealed
yet.
lips.
Yes,
Yes.
unfortunately, that's a bit of a disappointment, isn't it? That's an anticlimax to end on, isn't
Never mind. I
it?
gotta try.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ian, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with the rest of the tour and everything off the back of Pink Flamingo. Any final words before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening?
No, just thanks for having me on, and also, yeah, to anyone that's listening that's a fan of the band, like, thanks so much for your support, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Dude, thanks again. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you at a show soon or something.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Awesome, Ian. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye. And that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in to It's Not a Phase. If you enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Leave a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Follow the podcast on social media. And maybe even join the Patreon or grab some merch from the store. You can find everything that you need at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again. Hopefully catch you on the next one. And remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.